Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the financial secrets hidden in plain sight. Get ready because today we're diving into a shareholder meeting report from ImmunoTech Incorporated that has got some interesting moves and maybe a few too many head scratching. Before we dive in, if you love breaking down corporate news into simple, actionable insights, hitting that subscribe button is a must. And for more in-depth discussions and to join our community, check out the Discord link in the description below. So what we have here is essentially a report from ImmunoTech Incorporated about their annual meeting of stockholders held on the 16th of December, 2025. Think of it as the official notes and outcome of a big shareholders gathering where important decisions are made and votes are cast. The meeting itself happened on the 16th of December, 2025. This filing is giving us the rundown on what was discussed, what people voted on, and most importantly, how those votes turned out. The company behind this is ImmunoTech Incorporated, a name we've seen before in the biotech and pharmaceutical space, often focused on fighting cancer and serious diseases. A few little tidbits here about the company's official stuff. Delaware is where they're incorporated, and they have these file numbers that are basically their official IDs with the government. Nothing too exciting for us, but important for the paperwork. Now this is where it gets interesting for investors. Their common stock is traded on the nice American exchange under the ticker symbol. This means their stock is out there for anyone to buy and sell on a major stock market. The company checked the box that they are not an emerging growth company. This means they are past that initial growth phase and have to follow a more mature set of reporting rules, which usually means more detailed disclosures, which is good for us as we don't have to dig deep to find the real info. The main event here is about what happened at the meeting. They had proposals and shareholders voted on them. There were 27,648 shares of common stock out there, and about 41.4% of them were represented at the meeting, either by someone showing up in person or by sending in their vote ahead of time through a proxy. That is enough to have a quorum, meaning they had enough votes to actually make decisions. First up was the election of directors. These are the people who make the big decisions for the company. We see the names Nancy K. Bryan, William M. Mitchell, Ted D. Kellner, David I. Chamorro, and Thomas K. Equals, all up for election. For each nominee, they received a certain number of for votes, withheld votes, and then there are these broker non-votes. Now, broker non-votes are shares that are held by brokers for their clients, but the clients didn't give clear instructions on how to vote those shares, so the broker can't vote them. It is a pretty significant number, 833,173 broker non-votes for every single director. This means over a third of the total shares couldn't even be counted for these director votes because instructions were missing. It is a bit of a bummer because it potentially dilutes the democratic process. Next, they asked shareholders to approve or ratify the choice of BDO USA PC as their independent auditors for 2025. Think of auditors as the referees of financial reporting, making sure the company's financial statements are accurate and fair. This proposal got a huge for vote with 1104780 votes, very few against votes, and only a small number of abstentions. This tells us that the shareholders are comfortable with BDO USA PC continuing their work. Now, this is always a hot topic, executive compensation. Shareholders were asked to give their opinion on how much the top executives are being paid. The vote here was much closer. While 193,668 votes were for the compensation, 115,337 were against it. This is a pretty significant number of against votes and indicates that a good chunk of shareholders are not entirely happy with the pay structure for the top brass. What is really important to note here is that after accounting for those broker non-votes, which again are votes that weren't cast due to lack of instructions, Proposal 3 did not actually get the majority vote needed to be officially approved. So even though the company is saying a majority of the votes cast approved it, the technical definition of approval, which includes all eligible votes, was not met. This is a clear signal of dissatisfaction from some shareholders regarding executive pay. Then they asked how often shareholders want to vote on executive compensation. Once a year, every 2 years, or every 3 years. The overwhelming majority of votes, 284,856, chose 1 year. This means shareholders want to have this say on executive pay every single year. This aligns with the board's recommendation and shows a clear preference for annual feedback on how much the executives are making. Finally, at the end of the report, we see the signature and title of Thomas K. Equals, the CEO of ImmunoTech Incorporated, confirming the accuracy of this filing. So, what does all of this really mean? ImmunoTech Incorporated held its annual meeting. And while the shareholders are fine with the auditors and want to vote on executive pay annually, there is a clear undercurrent of concern. The significant number of against votes on executive compensation and the fact that it technically failed to pass a majority of all votes is a red flag. It suggests that shareholders are scrutinizing executive pay closely and are not afraid to voice their disapproval. This could put pressure on the board and management to reevaluate their compensation packages. The high number of broken votes across the board also highlights a potential issue with shareholder engagement or communication, where beneficial owners might not be fully aware of how their shares are being voted. Looking ahead, the company needs to address these shareholder concerns about executive pay to maintain confidence and potentially improve its stock performance. Alright, that is our breakdown of AIM ImmunoTech Incorporated's shareholder meeting report. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Do you think the executive pay is justified, or are the shareholders right to be concerned? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps. And subscribe for more deep dives into corporate filings. Don't forget to check out the Discord community in the description for even more discussions. Thanks for watching. See you next time.